Hello. Sorry I haven't uploaded in a while. I was just trying to take a rest, aka play a lot of video games. I went to Texas recently, as you guys know, because my sister Victoria was graduating. She wanted me to do her makeup, of course. So I'm actually going to show you the process. There was actually 2 days. One was for her graduation photos, and the second was for her graduation day. They're kind of the same. This one is just more of a pink look. The other is more of like a coral look, but they're pretty much similar. I do like this video a little bit more just because we filmed at her house. And the second one, we were at some Airbnb near her university, so it's like in this tiny little bathroom. So I'm gonna show you this one, but I figured I would do sort of like a voiceover in a way, but with video, where I go over the makeup, because we were this is like 5 in the morning. We had to drive over to her university to take the photos. I was not about to get my YouTuber mode on at 5 a.m. So here we go. I'm starting off with, of course, toner. Now the thing is, Tori, she has pretty oily skin, so the best thing would have just been to kind of keep it simple and just use toner to kind of wipe her face, which is what I'm doing now. And it was extremely hot that day, so there's no point in making her skin super like moisturized and all that. Gotta turn on the light, by the way. The light makes all the difference. I got a bunch of PR from Then I Met You. All this can get really fucking good. And I was trying out the sunscreen, which was super moisturizing, which would make a great everyday moisturizer plus sunscreen. But I think for Victoria's skin, it was too choke, it was too moist. So it would be better for maybe the winter. Probably not that ideal for summer for an oily skin, but it doesn't leave her skin very glowy. It made it really nice for the makeup, but I probably would have skipped out on that, to be honest with you. Although we were outside, so, you know, sunscreen's extremely important. If I wanted to use a sunscreen for oily skin, this stuff is no joke. Supergoop matte screen, girl, it sucks the oil out of my pussy, bitch.
You make me feel like Kim Kardashian.
Oh, what?
Or Cardi B.
Then I'm gonna go in foundation. Love this foundation on her. It's the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation, and as you can see, super freaking good, super freaking full coverage. Her skin's been breaking out quite a bit, so I thought go for the full coverage. And I'm actually using one of those like spatula brushes, which is from Real Techniques, which I got in Ulta in the States. The whole spatula thing has been a craze all over the world. I think it works really well with this particular foundation for Victoria's skin. Victoria has very, very smooth, like juicy skin, so I thought it would work well. And of course, the foundation is really long wearing and it works well with her oily skin. And the fact that it's really full coverage, it will help later on when I'm doing like covering all her little blemishes individually. It will save me some time because it covers most everything. And I'm using a wet sponge to kind of blend it in because the foundation is matte, but I'm not trying to make it too matte. I want a little bit of moisture in there so her skin doesn't dry out.
I love it. So smooth. It's talent right there.
Victoria's complex, I guess, is kind of her dark circles. She has more of like an actual bag, like that protrudes out from her under eye. So you can't really do much about that. So I'm trying my best to just at least cover the color, and I'm using a, of course, peachy color corrector for her dark circle, just to correct the purple under her eye. I go in with a concealer later, like a skin tone color concealer later, just to kind of cover it a little bit more. And then I'm gonna do her eyebrows, so I am using a little bit of powder on her brows first because I don't like to draw on wet eyebrows because it makes it harder to draw on. And for her particular eyebrows, I'm using a brow powder first. I use the powder to get the shape first, and then I use a pencil just to create actual brow looking hairs. When I've done Victoria's makeup on other days, I would really just use the brow pencil, but since we were taking photos this day, I guess I made them a little bit stronger. I think Tori looks a little bit weird with her really strong eyebrows. And also, if you look at her brow hair, she has a type of brows where she has pretty okay brows. She doesn't really have too many empty spaces. I'm really just trying to draw in like actual hair. So the brow pencil would have been fine, but because this is like a picture day, I wanted to really make sure you can see the shape. So I used the brow powder first and then the brow pencil. And it's one of those brow pencils that I got, on Aliexpress. You can draw a really sharp line, and it's actually a black color because I want it to look like actual hair. And Tori has pretty dark hair, so I made sure I really drew those in. The types of brow pencils you get at like the drugstore, they're too natural. They won't give you an actual stroke. And then, of course, a little bit of SMASHBOX eye primer. They renewed it. So so it's like a different packaging, but it's still same great formula. It's the only eye primer I use that actually stays, because that shit is like bulletproof. Like you can kind of feel it almost on your eyelid. Those Malu Wilz concealers I use, there's actually a grayish brownie color that's meant for contour, so I'm using that to contour her nose. My sister has kind of like a chubbier nose, so I didn't want to go too crazy with contour, like with a powder, because you bitches know. Y'all know I fucking go in with the two lines sometimes. So to keep it more natural, and I know Victoria hates a strong nose contour, so I'm using a brown shade just to kind of like push back the sides of her nose a little bit and create more shape. I'm not trying to like give her like a snatched like drag queen nose. I do want her to have some shape there. And I'm taking the same cream and I'm using it on the sides of her face. I'm not too concerned about contouring her face to look smaller, but I do want her to have some kind of like shade, because she has quite a round face, so I'm kind of just taking that shit in a little bit. And then I'm using, oh girl, these e.l.f. Camo, whatever, cream blush, liquid blushes, so good. And Tori loves them. So, which by the way, I did Tori's personal color, so, and she's a bright spring, so these bright pink makeup I'm doing is actually more cool tone, but in general, she looks good in bright colors. So I'm using this first, her blush, just to put some color onto her face. And these liquid blushes from e.l.f. are really good. And I'm just placing them kind of like here on the top of her cheekbones, right below her eyes, because she does have a younger looking face. I'm not trying to, if I put them really low, like below her nose line, it's gonna make her look mature, and I don't want that. I want her to look a little bit more youthful. And of course on the chin and the nose as well, because I want to create a flush of color on her face, right?
My confidence has increased already.
Go settle down. Not even done yet.
I know. Oh gosh, I wish I could just like tattoo that, everything.
And then for the eyeshadow, I think I'm using mostly colors from the Colourpop Blush Crush palette, because they're all pretty. In the pan, they actually look more coral, but on her eyes, they end up looking more pink, like almost like a warm pink. So I did think it looks really pretty. So when I'm doing eyeshadow, the shape I tend to go for is very K-beauty, as you know. So it's kind of like you're kind of creating a gradation of like a rainbow shape. So you put the first color all over, and then the darker or the second color you use is kind of like the same shape, but it's smaller. So you're kind of creating like sort of gradation. And that's pretty much what I did. Nothing too crazy.
You inspire me every day. Yeah.
And of course, doing her eyeliner, I'm filling in her waterline, just the center. When you look forward into the, like straight ahead, the part of the eye, the waterline that you can see, that's the part I'm filling in. Tori does, like, she doesn't have like downturned eyes, but the part of her eye right here, it goes down quite quickly. It almost kind of gives the feeling of downturned eyes. So I do try to give her more of like a upwards wing, just to kind of balance that part out. And of course, you know, you can't always get eyeliner perfect, so I'm using a little baby skinny Q-tip and a little bit of concealer on a tiny little brush, just to fix everything up and get it sharp. And then, of course, I'm gonna blend out the eyeliner with a little bit of dark eyeshadow, because I don't like the look of a harsh. I won't really do the wing, but I'll do the eyeliner that's on the eye. I will blend that out with eyeshadow, because I think it looks softer and it looks more natural. Oof, yeah. For Victoria's eyelashes, she has very coarse hair, and her eyelashes point downwards really strongly. So, of course, I'm using eyelash curler, but I used a lighter just to heat up the curler so that it almost acts as like a curling iron in a way, and the curl will last much longer. I even go in with a mini lash curler to really get the outside corners, because the outside corners really do not want to curl, and so I'm just using that to make sure everything's curled properly. And then I'm using a pair of just eyelashes I found on Aliexpress. These are like my favorite. I'll link them down below. I don't know what they're called, but they look like this. And they're not super like Xiao Hongshu Douyin vibes. They're kind of like the spiky manga lashes, but they're a little bit softer and more fluffy in a way. So I think they look pretty on like everyone that I've used them on. So I'm using those, and those are like Victoria's favorites that I've ever used on her. So, and they're clusters, so they're much easier and faster to put on than strip lashes, like a full strip, or even like those fucking, you know, the eyelash that K-pop idols use, the really skinny, tiny little V ones. I hate putting them on. They're pretty, but putting them on is a bitch. So these short cluster ones are so much quicker and easier, and they're more comfortable.
Very excellent. Dang, it makes me so mad.
What?
Not having lashes like this.
I also put some falsies on her lower lashes, and I did ask her, I was like, are you okay with these? Because they're starting to look a little bit too glam.
Do you like those, or do you feel it's better without them?
I like them. Does it make my eyes look smaller, you think? Or like more tired?
I just feel like it starts to look more glam than just like...
It's a glam. It's okay. Minsan na lang.
She did say, oh, it's okay because she does the same sort of makeup every day, so she didn't want to kind of go all out. And I guess it's okay because we're taking photos. So her photos, you can go a little bit stronger because sometimes taking photos, it just looks too natural. So I just put like maybe 3 lower lash clusters, which again, much easier, much faster. And they're kind of similar to the ones I use up top in that they're really like fluffy and not too like artificial looking. So I love those. I'll also link those down below. And of course, lip balm. I forgot, I should put this at the beginning, but Tori's extremely dry lips like me. So I'm gonna put that on. I used a lip liner on her aegyo part, almost like a cream eyeshadow, and 2 as like a primer for the glitter that I'm gonna put later. And honestly, sometimes doing eyeshadow on the lower lashes can be a bit sensitive for her because her eyes twitch a lot. So using the lip pencil is kind of quick and easy. And then I'm using just a little bit of a dark color, like the same color I used as to blend out the eyeliner, the shadow. I'm using that to create like a line on the lower lashes here, just to give a little bit of that Doyen vibe, because I think it does balance out whatever's going out on top. And to be honest, I don't really need to use mascara because the lashes kind of do everything. So what I actually ended up using was a lash fixer, the one from ETUDE House. It's meant to just kind of hold your curl. The original version is clear, but there is a black version. So that's a great option for if you do like to wear falsies, but you don't really want to use mascara because mascara will kind of make the false lashes clumpy. Also, it will help kind of stick the real eyelashes with the falsies together without overly clumping your lashes with mascara.
So good. I'm pleased.
And just like I said earlier, because I used a peachy color under her eyes, now I'm just using like a sort of skin tone color, which is actually a little bit darker than the concealer I would use on her skin. Because if the bag on her eye is like puffy, right? If I add a light concealer, it will just make it stand out more. And I'm not trying to do that. So I'm using a tone half a step deeper than her skin tone, just to push it back a little bit. Not too dark, because it will make her under eyes obviously look like orange. So that's not what I want. And then I'm actually going back in with a liquid blush because again, she has oily skin, right? So her blush will disappear so quickly. So I put a little extra blush because I knew it was gonna kind of go away a little bit anyway. And then of course glitter, can't forget the glitter because Avila makeup. My sister, she doesn't really have aegyo style like this. She kind of has quite a bit of lines, which is very common, right? So if I tried to do aegyo style makeup, it would look a little bit crusty and creasy. So instead, I just put a little bit of glitter on the very inner corner right here to give the vibe of like aegyo style, right? Very close to the lash line, not too low because otherwise it will look messy. It'll kind of just fall off. And then also a little bit, of course, on the lids.
This is my favorite part.
I think it starts to look too idol makeup-y. It's okay.
I like that.
Okay, listen up. If you have dark spots, I'm not talking about blemishes, like the red spots. I'm talking about dark spots, like you had an acne spot and then you like picked it or it went away, but it left like a dark mark. The best way that I found to cover it, because usually people will just use like a skin tone concealer, which is fine, but I feel like it doesn't cover it really. What I've been doing and I find very effective is actually using a very pale, again, a Malu Wilz concealer. They have a shade that's very pale and almost like a lemony color. This one right here. It doesn't have to be this one, just any concealer that's really light. First, I use that on top of the dark spot. It lifts up like the dark brownness of the spot. And then I use a concealer that's darker than her skin tone to kind of balance it out. Because if I use that really light one and then use a concealer that's her skin tone on top, it will just look like white on her face, right? So because I made it so bright, now I gotta really take down that color by using a darker concealer. And so what happens is it kind of balances out to her skin tone. Of course, I'm using a really small brush for this, and I found this way more effective at covering dark spots. Otherwise, if I just use a regular skin tone concealer, it just looks like the spot, but just like kind of like grayish. Of course, it is a little bit annoying to go out and buy like 2 other concealers, but if you have an issue with dark spots, that's kind of my recommendation. And then a little bit of noise, and then a little bit of nose highlight. On noses like Tori's, where it's kind of like rounder and a little bit more flat, instead of like a straight up contour, I do like to use a highlighter because I feel like it's a little bit more natural and it still gives you that sort of like snatched look. I don't know why, but I didn't put in the lip that I use on her, but I really just used a strong lip tint, like the kind that really stains your lips. I blotted it and then I used a lip gloss on top just to soften it. And then I used a lip liner, the one I used under her eye, I used that on top to kind of give shape to her lip, which I don't even show you in this video, but I thought I would explain it to you. And also I did her hair, but I hated the way it came out, so I'm just skipping this part. Tori bought one of those like hair wrap things that you use overnight. That shit works so well for her really coarse, thick hair. So if you want to do your hair more like wavy, I recommend that one.
You did that so fast. Just go like, my hair. What happened?
Oh, she pooped on the ground. See?
Where's it?
I feel sorry for these girls.